Welcome to some more stories from the internet. My name's Jack. I'm a nobody reading some stories to everybody. Except you. No, not you, the one behind you, the one that's breathing over your neck. Stop that, mate. Now, enough mucking about. It's time to make some judgmental opinions about people's struggles on the internet. This story by Kui. Am I the a-hole for not reacting to a racist comment? Last night, I was having drinks with a few close friends, all white. I am from Chinese origins, but was born in France. One girl was telling an anecdote about going to see her younger sister in the hospital when she was born, and thought her sister was Chinese because of her eyes. The girl then turned to me and said, "Hope you're not offended or anything." Everyone turned towards me because she spoke directly to me, and being put on the spot, which I hate, I didn't say anything. Cue tiny awkward pause, then everyone, except for me, kind of laughed and the conversation moved on. I have to be honest and say I've been struggling with a lot of issues on race and identity and all of that fun stuff. Now that I've had over a day to think about it and what happened, I hate myself for not saying it was inappropriate and that I felt uncomfortable. So, am I the a-hole for not saying anything? P.S. Next time I see her face to face, I will try my best to explain I felt very uncomfortable due to her comments. I just hate confrontation, so we'll need to prepare a mini speech of some sort. Nata, it's not your job to react or explain to every person ever what is and is not racist. Sure, it helps to correct some behaviors in people who make unknowingly micro-racist remarks. Everyone ever says stupid stuff from time to time without ever realizing that what they said was stupid to begin with. If you are comfortable enough to explain it to them in a calm manner without turning it into a screaming match, that's your own personal choice to make. You are in no way obligated to explain anything. That's a fair point. People commonly on the receiving end of racist behavior and subtle racist remarks shouldn't be burdened with the extra job of having to correct every single person. But also, how do you expect anyone to better themselves, much less be more self-aware of these remarks, if you don't confront or at least educate them about it? I totally understand the discomfort in causing confrontation, though. Nata, there were other people there who could have called it out, although in this case your silence probably did answer for you. I agree to this. I don't think setting up a mini speech is necessary, and if you're close enough friends, surely just letting her know that you did feel uncomfortable is all you need to say for her to realize she crossed the line. But then again, if she was truly trying to be cautious about creating a racist remark, she probably wouldn't have said it in the first place. Either way, not the a-hole. This story by Fired Guy. Am I the a-hole for demanding that my mother buy me a computer? At the start of the school year, I was doing really badly in math. My mother said if I get above an 80% at the end of the year, she would get me a computer. I put a lot of effort in because I really could use a computer. The one I had didn't work anymore. The end of the year rolls around and I get like 82% or something. So I asked my mother if she could buy a computer for me now, and she says she only vaguely remembers saying that. At the start of the year, when she asked me, I told her that I was going to try and get above an 80%, and she heard me and replied back, acknowledging that I was going to try. We ended up arguing about it, and I told her that it doesn't matter if she doesn't remember, because that's what she promised me. Plus, it's not like I would lie about something like that, and she would have no reason to think I would. Should I have just let it go? It genuinely took a lot of effort to get that grade. No a-holes here. A lot of time had passed, and I don't fault her for forgetting. Although, with that, I don't fault you with being frustrated and disappointed and angry with her for not remembering, especially after you put in so much effort. However, it's worth noting that financial situations can change within a year, and she might not have been able to afford a new computer, whereas she was at the beginning of the year. No one expected a pandemic that would also crash the world's economy. Once again, easily agree. Though I suppose if her finances were the issue here, she should be a bit more upfront in pointing out that, yeah, she just can't really afford it right now. He does mention in the comments that she did eventually buy him the computer after him constantly nagging her about it. But regardless, you did achieve what she set you out to do. Though if she did become honest about her financial struggles and you nagged her regardless about getting the computer, yeah, then you'd be the a-hole. This story by In Her Gran. Am I the a-hole for being upset that Grandma excluded me and the rest of the family from the will and that my sister refuses to share anything with us? I have a small family, a few extended family, and my family. We also have one grandma. Recently, my grandma died. She made me the executor of the will. I looked at it and was surprised. Turns out my grandma was a billionaire. She also owned the family business as well. For context, they're referring to their country's billions in terms of currency. They're not an actual US billionaire. In the will, it stated that everything, including the family heirlooms, were going to my sister because she was the best of the family. I know that my family were in a fierce competition in order to prove to Grandma we were worthy. It broke our family multiple times and created in our family lots of anxiety and other mental issues. The only one who did not suffer from these issues was my sister. Note, I was the one who took care of Grandma in her final years, and I did not get anything. Some cousins who were not that close but still talked to Grandma and family close to Grandma were angry that they did not get any sentimental ideas. My sister refuses to share and told us to respect Grandma's wishes and stated she was the chosen one. After we left, everyone in the family agreed that all the family inheritance from now on should be split equally so this kind of situation will not happen again. We also decided to exclude our sister from any future inheritance/vacations because she will most likely brag about her wealth. Today, my sister called me and asked me why me and the rest of the family have not talked to her in 2 years. I explained the situation. She called me a jealous feminine pup and a bad person for not respecting the will of the dead. She said morally she does not have to share as well as legally. I ended up cutting off the call. Our grandma never helped our family when we were in need. She never hired anyone in the family business, even though they were better than some employees. She stated that we should find our own path. She also expected that we should help her because she is old. This made me question myself, so I am asking you guys, am I the a-hole? Everyone sucks here. You have every right to be disappointed that your grandmother didn't leave you anything, but her money was hers to give away however she wanted. You were not entitled to it. Your sister has no obligation to share anything that is hers, either before or after the inheritance. You are not entitled to it. Whether anyone was ever actually a billionaire is questionable, and yes, it would be lovely of people to share their wealth, but if they choose not to, that is their right, no matter how much you really want their money. It's not yours, and you need to accept that and move on. Not the a-hole. It would be almost impossible to not be hurt by the action of someone you cared for in their twilight years, giving you nothing and telling you to get stuffed while giving billions to someone else. And your sister seems to just rub your faces in it that she was chosen instead. It sounds like she could have given everyone a drop from the bucket and she'd still be more than set for life. I hope you end up walking your path to happiness. I feel like this story needs a bit more info into understanding how the sister got all the money. What did she do? What did she say to the grandmother in her twilight years? From the story, it sounds like that the sister possibly manipulated the grandmother into fixing her will to say this. But of course, this is all from the OP's point of view. For all we know, she's painting her sister in a terribly, purposefully bad light. It could also be that based on how the grandmother seemed to speak and treat her rest of the family, that the OP herself wasn't actually that caring and nice to the grandmother like she thought she would have been. I don't know, this family just reeks of a slight toxicity. This bounces between everyone sucks here and no a-holes here for me. On one hand, the sister is definitely selfish not to be sharing out that much money. But also, it was the grandmother who did this, not exactly the sister. And the rest of the family just cutting her off just because of what the grandmother gave her? Honestly, is rather petty. This story by Mobile Phone Throwaway. Am I the a-hole for forcing my daughter's school to change the rules? Before you all jump to calling me a Karen, let me explain. Oh, great start. So, my daughter, 17 female, Clem, goes to a school that has recently changed its policy on phones. Instead of getting it back at the end of the day, the school keeps it for 4 days, not including weekends or holidays, and then a guardian has to come collect it after school. We were not made aware of the new policy. We live a good hour and a half away from school. Well, on Thursday, my daughter came home late and said she had to walk home because the school had taken her phone, bus tickets are on their phones, and buses aren't taking money to avoid contact. I asked her what happened, and when she said she was checking her texts in the toilets, when a female teacher came in and confiscated it because she was in a no-phone area. That same night, I contacted her school and set up a meeting with the head. He told me the school realized taking phones for the day wasn't a big enough deterrent, so now they take them for 4 days. I was floored. My daughter had to walk home, in the dark and cold, because the school held her phone overnight. I told them what my daughter had told me, and they confirmed that's what happened. I told them that I have no issue with them taking the phone for 4 days at school, but they need to give her phone back to her after school so she can get home safely. After a bit of debating, they finally agreed. When I told my husband, he rolled his eyes at me and called me a Karen. He told me that Clem should walk home as punishment, despite the high crime rate in our area. Well, firstly, I gotta say, pointing out that it's dark and cold, I don't think a phone's going to affect the temperature for her that much. But I definitely have to agree, this is a messed up policy. This comment elaborates on it perfectly. Frick that. Listen to any true crime podcast for more than 3 minutes and you'll realize almost every little kid being abducted and murdered comes from some little stuff like this where they can't take their normal route. The school is putting children at very high risk with this dumb as heck policy. They didn't relent and change the rules because OP was right. They relented and changed the rules because they realized there was a huge liability issue. I don't know how they didn't consider that ahead of time, but they probably thought about it for half a second and panicked after OP talked to them. That's my guess at least. Agreed. I graduated high school before cell phones were ubiquitous, and don't have kids, so I may be off on this. How is it legal, in the United States, for a school to take a student's legally owned property and withhold it from their guardian? I get that they should be allowed to confiscate items that interfere with the learning environment, and if I were a parent, I would probably support the school if they wanted to keep my hypothetical child's property if she or he was using it disruptively. But if a parent goes to the school and requests the property back, I feel like the school would be obligated to return it. It probably wouldn't be worth the time to file a police report, but it is definitely theft by the school employees. I could be wrong. This is based on the assumption that a child's property is also legally held by their guardian. In my opinion, students need to be treated more like adults. They're treated like prisoners at high schools in some areas. I think if the student is not in class, then they should be allowed to use the phone. How many adults would be furious if their job told them that they could not use their phone during a break, during their lunch period, during bathroom breaks, or that their boss would be taking their phone? Unless you're working in a secure government facility, or you knowingly take the job that says no phones, students should be given the same ability to use their phone during breaks as adults are. I think it's absolutely fine for teachers to confiscate a phone that is being used in their class, but then they should put the phone on a desk, labeled with the student's name, and after that, give it back to the student. Well, there you have it. For once a Karen that seems to be rather justified. So, does that still make her a Karen? This story by Rowdy Fish. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give up my service dog and not punishing him after he growls because they try to take him away? So, for context, 4 years ago, I was badly injured, which left my spine in no better condition than cooked spaghetti. I have multiple denervations a year for this, intentional surgical interruption of a nerve. Last year, the most beautiful and kind dog chose us to live with. We call him Dopey and love him very much. Ever since he was a puppy, I've been training him really intensely in assisting me. Dopey is an American Stafford, so not ideal for this, but he is a smart boy and figures things out rather quickly. He picks things up, he gets stuff for me, pushes buttons, you get the drift. He also motivates me in getting my steps in for the day, even on the bad days. Then to the a-hole part. I was walking Dopey along the pond today, and as always, I take a little break by the water. I had just given Dopey a command to pick something up for me when a little kid in a wheelchair and his mum came up to us. He asked to pet him, which I kindly refused, since Dopey was working at that moment and can't be pulled out of focus. The mother then goes on whining about why I take him out in public if he's not to be petted. So I explained that he is working as my service dog and cannot be disturbed as he is still in training and gets too excited to focus. I'm sure they said it with far less aggression. Now all hell breaks loose. I should not have a service dog since I am obviously not disabled, and her son has been on the waiting list for so long, and that meant I was to give them Dopey. And even if I was disabled, his was worse, so he deserved him more, apparently. I started yelling at her, as she was at me, that she couldn't have him or even buy him for all the dang money in the world if the boy needed it so badly. She could just train one herself, like I did. I am definitely not proud of cursing in front of what I think was a 6-year-old, but then the little brat started pulling on my dog's tail, telling him to come. He belongs to him now. Dopey lost it, started growling at the kid and getting close. The kid is now laying on the ground, next to his wheelchair, crying. Here's where I might be the a-hole, though. I refused to pull him back instantly. I know that dog will not attack unless told to, and absolutely refused to punish Dopey for his reaction, as this is how he's supposed to react to harassment, in my opinion. A lot of my close friends and family, however, have told me I am wrong and should have punished him for his behavior. Some even suggested that since I work from home, awesome employer, I can easily train another one, whilst she is probably a working mum who does not have the time. But he is my baby. I raised and trained him. Even if he didn't help me out, I love him too much to ever give him up. Edit, Englishing better. Edit 2, Dopey is not registered as a service dog. He is not official in my country. I trained him to help me out. He does not have a vest. I do not have an org. I raised him as a normal dog. English is not my first language. I might have messed up in my wording. I also do not call him that ever in my own language, as it is not appropriate since he just simply isn't one. My apologies for giving the wrong idea. I didn't know how to word it appropriately in English. Instead of the word punish, I would go with correct. Should you have corrected his behavior? Probably, but you knew he wouldn't hurt the kid. You owe those people nothing. Do not help train a dog for them. Dopey is your buddy and helper. End of story. Those people are absurd. Nata, I feel bad for the kid, because, well, he is just a kid and probably learned from his entitled mother. The nerve of people to act just like animals are trading cards and can just be taken and given away as though they have no feelings of their own. Yeah, 1, your dog offered a dog warning before he thought about defending himself, and 2, they should know better than to take something that doesn't belong to them. Let them cry, your dog, your rules, and he didn't hurt anyone, so even if they whine to the cops, not much will be done. Nata for refusing to give up your dog, how entitled of her, and she needs to teach her kid how to behave around dogs. But you're the a-hole for not pulling the dog back from the kid. I know, he won't do anything but growl. But crazy entitled lady could file a false report claiming your dog snapped at her child and possibly unleash a ton of drama for you. Next time a kid wants to pet your dog, just say, no, he's not friendly, or that he gets too hyper or something. I wouldn't let unknown kids pet my Labradors, and I don't let my toddlers pet unknown dogs, because dogs are animals, and animals are sometimes unpredictable. And kids not knowing how to treat a dog is sadly pretty common. I've got an unpopular opinion, but your gut instinct is right. You became an a-hole when you watched your dog lose it and let your dog continue to growl at and get close to a child. Look, nobody thinks their dog is going to maul someone until it happens, and you've actually had this dog a very short period of time to be so confident that nothing would happen. In fact, your sense that the dog wouldn't attack unless commanded to was proven incorrect, because you apparently didn't command the dog to growl and approach the kid aggressively. If the dog was well trained enough to heel and sit, you should have had to do that, not let the situation escalate dangerously for the kid and your dog. What if the kid was kicked out in fear and your dog had attacked? As much as I believe the entitled mother is in the wrong here, I have to agree with this last point. After all, you can't justify the dog attacking from being kicked by the kid because, oh, well, the kid shouldn't have kicked him. Well, like, the kid was afraid. He was afraid for his life. Obviously ignoring the fact that if he's in a wheelchair, he probably can't use his legs, but the point still remains. I honestly think everyone sucks here. If you aren't almost dead, yet, and want to follow more of my escapades in life, be sure to check out my Instagram in the description below. And while you're scrolling down, why not leave a comment on this video of your thoughts on some of the stories, maybe some further ideas of what Reddits or even stories I could check out myself to give a read for you all. Again, I love you for watching my videos, and if you are currently subscribed, I genuinely love you for watching my videos. See what happens when you subscribe? You get an extra love. I give you some little extra sprinkle of love, like cocaine. Give you some cocaine. You want cocaine? Then subscribe. Subscribe for cocaine. What am I doing? Honestly, thanks for all the love you guys give, or even despite. I'm actually Satan, so all hate and suffering you send my way is just really great for my skin complexion. That's it for now. My name's been Jack, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye-bye.